Yeah, I think our kids are really excited about this opportunity. Practicing this time of year is not fun, but I think our kids have had a great attitude about it and grinded through some midday practices in some pretty warm weather. I think we've had 2 really good weight room sessions, some conditioning sessions, and really we've competed a lot during practice as well. We played some simulated innings on Monday with some guys who didn't pitch on the weekend. So it's been a pretty good week of preparation, and that with a whole lot of calls to our signing class to see if they're going to show up. So it's a busy time, but I think our kids they're ready to play. They're ready to play somebody else, and the preparation part isn't as fun, obviously, but they've had a great attitude about it.
We'll start front right with Mike.
Mike Bonner from the Clarion Ledger. Jay was in here talking about Nathan Bannister and his performance. How many times in your career have you seen a pitcher kind of go out there and do what he did last weekend?
Well, back in the old days when I played, it was not uncommon. That's how Jeff Brantley won 18 games his senior year at Mississippi State. I mean, you add the numbers up, and there aren't just enough weeks in the year to accomplish what he accomplished there. It was just pretty common at one point in time, and now in the age of, specification, you don't see that as much. But, in a lot of cases, there's no tomorrow. And, I knowing Jay as well as I know him, I can guarantee you that, he has kids who want the baseball. And, I completely understand that. So, it's every single kid's different. So some can do those kinds of things and some can't. And you love having the guys on your roster who can, who are that durable. So I think that's a real credit to him and their program.
Stay on the front right, Ben.
Yeah, Ben Wake, Commercial Dispatch. Reed was going through defensive drills and taking BP today. I know you said game time decision tomorrow. Is that still the thing moving forward with him?
We're very, very hopeful. It looks really good. It still will be a game time, but he's made a lot of progress, and obviously that's exciting to us.
Any other questions? We'll start and go in the middle here.
Hi, Michael Lev with the Arizona Daily Star. You're going to be facing your old boss, in a way, Greg Byrne, who hired you for this job. What kind of feelings do you have about Greg and the opportunity that he gave you and now, going up against his school?
Well, I'll always be eternally grateful to Greg for this opportunity at Mississippi State. And in some respects, he had to stand in the fire a little bit to hire me. I'm not sure it was the most convenient thing in the world for him, and I know there were some powers that be that didn't want to see that happen. But I will always be grateful to Greg. He is smart. He works extremely hard, and he's very, very creative. And I feel privileged. There are times in our profession where you might hear, friends talk about, administrators not being fair and not being, thinking out of the box. I have always been around ADs who are just really smart people and were really creative and helped us grow as a program. Mitch Barnhart at Kentucky, Scott Strickland, and, how about a shout out to Mitch Barnhart, who spawned Greg Byrne, Scott Strickland, who else am I thinking about? My good friend at University of Oregon. It's pretty remarkable how many guys come out of that athletic department who are now ADs at big time programs. So, yeah, I will always be grateful to Greg. I think he's just a really sharp guy, and in his time at Mississippi State, I thought he was, just a really good leader and a really innovative person.
We'll go to the front right, Ben.
Yeah, with Connor not pitching the last couple of weeks and the possibility of 2 games this weekend, could we see him out of the bullpen this weekend? Connor?
Yeah. I think, we threw a simulated little game on Monday because Connor didn't pitch in the weekend. his last couple of fastballs were 94 plus miles an hour, and his stuff, he really wants to pitch, and he's a freshman who we've skipped 2 weekends in a row because we only played 3 games, and with the emergence of what Houston has done and the experience that Houston has, it's it's hard to make way for him, but certainly, yeah, we could see him in relief for sure.
Stay front right, Mike.
John, when you look back at the 13 team, it almost seems opposite with the rotation. You get a few innings in 13 and then hope for the bullpen. Now it's the complete opposite where you have guys who can go 7 or 8 innings. How has the managerial style changed, and how has one led to the other in such 3 years or so?
Well, we hope we're going to get 6, 7 innings out of our starter. That's not always a gimme, but we probably do have the best starting pitching we've had since I've been at Mississippi State. And, Kendall Graveman was a really good one. But certainly, yeah, I think when you can relieve that bullpen and shorten the game on the backside because your starting pitcher can give you 6 or 7, it's easy. I'll tell you this much, it's much easier to manage. When you're looking at telling your guy just to get through the order once, maybe twice, and you're looking at bringing a guy in the 4th or 5th inning, you have to really manage the ball game. When you have a guy that you feel like can get out there and go 6 or 7 innings every single time, it's much easier to manage. It's kind of like when Skip used to put that Ben McDonald guy out there on the mound. He just he locked the doors to the bullpen. You know what I'm saying? He didn't need a guy at the end of the game. He's got a guy throwing 100 miles an hour. So with 3 other pitches, right, Jim? You remember seeing that? He had everything. And then you had to deal with Russell Springer too. But anyway, that's another whole story. Yeah. He also had a string on his glove that was about that long. And everybody was scared to death to tell him to cut it off. But anyway, back to Mississippi State. Anybody? Yes, sir.
You've had several days now to, study up on Arizona. What stands out to you about them?
I really like their club because in a lot of ways it kind of reminds me of our situation. They have some older guys at the top who've had great years, and I think, they play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, which is something I like. They didn't have the success in the previous years that they wanted to have, and the older kids want to win, and Jay's come in and done a great job with their program, and yeah, I think it's a kind of a similar story. I think it's 2 teams on a similar mission who are trying to prove something. So, if you look at their pitching, it reminds me a little bit of our 2013 club, just because they have so many different pieces in the bullpen, and you're not 100% sure what direction they're going to go. I mean, they have a ton of appearances, and then after the first 2 or 3 guys with their starts, the starts are really divided, pretty evenly. So. Yeah, and then you look, at a Bannister and see his durability, and wonder if he can get you twice in one weekend. Delback out of the bullpen and starting. With his athleticism and arm strength, they have a nice mix of left-right. It's a good club. I've watched a ton now. I've watched every game they played in the regional at least twice, and the more I watch, the more they just don't panic. They really do a good job communicating defensively. They don't get sped up, and they just do a great job in all phases. They're very well coached.
We'll go to the front right.
I know you weren't sure yesterday, but any update on the rotation, what it could look like this weekend?
Yeah, we're going to wait a little bit. Did Jay give you a starting guy? Okay. We're going to wait a little bit just because there's so many things that are happening, or even at this very moment. I think there's something going on tonight. The draft, I think, is going on tonight. We're going to wait probably till tomorrow and make that decision. We certainly can't throw Houston. He's not a factor for us in game 1 because that would be shorting him. But I still think Pilkington's a pretty good matchup. I think moving Sexton up one day wouldn't be a problem, and switching him out with Dakota, we'll wait and see. I think we have some options there.
Any other questions for Coach Cohen? Oh, we got one in the back.
John, obviously, Dakota didn't have his best outing last weekend, but is there a silver lining in that with him only throwing 70 pitches last weekend?
Maybe. I know he's had good bullpen sessions. I know I was just talking with Wes about this. He feels like he's right back where he needs to be. I think, I don't want to make too much of this, but as long as I've been doing this, it seems like when you get past, if you can get past the draft, it's usually a relief for guys. And I'm not talking about just for our club. I'm talking about for all 16 teams that are playing right now. I think when it's over with for them and it went good or it went bad or whatever, it's over. I remember Adam Frazier in 2013, we go to Virginia, and just him knowing that he had been drafted, it just seemed like a ton of bricks had been lifted off his shoulders, and he went 6 for 6, and Hunter had a great game. I just thought, I just think you're asking a lot of these kids. But again, it's the same way for all 16 clubs that are left in this tournament. And, I think he can get right back to where he needs to be. Prior to the SEC tournament, he had 3 really, really good outings in a row, and there's no reason why he can't get right back to that level.